Well, hello, DCL podcast fans. We've got a little bit different lineup. We are coming to you live to do our March DCL news update. And I've got our new co-host. He's our guest co-host today, Steve from Tampa. How you doing today, Steve?
Good, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, with a last minute change, Chris is going to help me out. Chrissy's got some plans, and Chris had some things come up at the very last minute. We were just about ready to start this, and I texted you, and you were just putting your kids to bed, and thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. I literally turned the knob to shut my son's door. He had just fallen asleep, so here I am.
Yeah, well, there we go. So, and I literally walked in from, I've got a weird job sometimes, dude. Just got back in from Vegas. It's like going to the supermarket, I think, sometimes. Like, I woke up this morning, flew to Vegas, hung out there, had some lunch, came back here, ran in, and then we're doing this news recap for March for Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah. It's like that scene in, I think it's Wedding Crashers, when Will Ferrell's like, what is he doing back there? What's she doing? That's what I think about your job. Like, I wonder where he is today. Like, is he at cruising altitude? Is he in Orlando? I have no idea.
Yeah, I was texting you, and I was going to put some money. I put $1 in the slots for you, but it didn't quite work out, unfortunately, to your favor. So.
Oh, thanks for thinking of me, man. Appreciate it.
Next time. All right. Well, we are going to do I wanted to cover the March DCL news update because I'm going to be on the road in the next couple of days. So thanks for jumping in. Lots of news from Disney Cruise Line this month, most of it positive. And so I thought we'll just kick it off, starting off with at the beginning of the month. Do you listen to well, first of all, are you a Disney stockholder? I should ask you, shareholder.
In and out, man. In and out. Depends
okay.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the annual shareholders meetings took place at the beginning of the month. It was virtual. I actually got to go to one a couple of years ago, and it was kind of fascinating to watch what is the Dog and Pony Show.
Yeah, I do listen to them. I definitely listen to them and pay attention to them, especially lately, because they give you little caveats of possibly what's to come. So
yeah. So Bob Chapek is taking over Bob Iger. Bob Iger is leaving at the end of this year, I believe. Supposedly, allegedly, that's what's in the plans. I think it's actually going to happen this time. So Bob Chapek was running most of the meeting, and man, I just have to say this. I watched Bob Iger talk for an hour and a half afterwards at that meeting and answer people's questions. And man, I have, I don't know him personally or anything else, but it was amazing to see him answer people very respectfully and now whether things are going to change or not, that's a whole other story, but try to make the person feel important with the questions that they ask. So it was kind of interesting to watch that aspect of business being conducted for shareholders.
Yeah, he seemed very personable and very comfortable in that position. And I think he completely phases out with the company at the end of this year.
Yeah,
like he has no role left with the company at the end of this year. So yeah, those are very, very big shoes to fill.
Yeah. So well, let's get into it. So Bob Chapek, during the meeting with the shareholders and talking to the shareholders, said he hopes that Disney Cruise Line will resume sailings this fall. During the Walt Disney shareholder meeting, Bob Chapek, Disney CEO, told shareholders that DCL has been working hard on health and safety standards for ships to begin sailing. So they've got a plan in place. They're working on it. Of course, none of us have heard anything about it, but that is to come out hopefully soon. There is no official timeline, but they're anxious to get Disney Cruise Line back up and running. So that's a good thing that they are pushing forward with Disney Cruise Line. It's not something on the back burner. It's an organization of the company that they want to get back up and running again. And one of the things that he did mention, which I think is kind of important, he said the pace of vaccinations and trends with the virus will play a factor in getting the ships going again, not to mention the CDC. Any thoughts there, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as being at Disney specific, I don't think this is a rumor. I think we know how it will go, right? They won't be first out when it happens. But they will probably set the bar as far as safety standards. Usually they'll take it one level above, at least on the safety standard side, and they'll be behind as far as when they're going to open. Same thing happened here locally with theme parks. I think same thing's happening with Disneyland and Universal Studios. Hollywood is opening first. So that tends to be their pattern. So I expect the same thing from the cruise line.
I agree as well. So, and with that news that Disney Cruise Line would not sail until the fall, we hear, and I'll let you go with this news story number 2.
Yeah. So we have the announcement that the Disney Cruise Line will sail from the UK, and it will be on the Disney Magic at sea this summer. And they will be doing unique, as they call it, the Disney Staycation aboard 2, 3, and 4 night cruises from the UK. Select dates are available with departures from London, Tilbury, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Southampton. So you have a variety of ports there. And they will feature onboard entertainment, dining, and recreation for the whole family. And I think there'll be some very unique experiences. In fact, I did hear that they will even include like pardon me, hopefully this is not in the future, but jumping ahead, that Marvel will join some of the character lists. So it looks like they'll make it very special, particularly because, of course, the guests are not going to be leaving to go anywhere. So we'll see how that unfolds. No dates, no pricing, or sailing details at the moment.
And one thing to point out that these sailings are only available for UK residents also. So unless you are a UK resident or have a UK passport, I guess, you're not going to be able to get on these sailings. I think it will be interesting to hear once they go. We've got a couple listeners over there in the UK. I'm not sure if anybody's going to sail with them or not, but if they do, we will definitely dig into trying to find somebody to bring them on to find out kind of what the unique experiences are. Because, 4 days on the cruise ship, they've got to have some things up their sleeve. So I'm kind of excited for this, that they're giving it a shot over there in the UK. It seems like other cruise lines have been able to make it work so far. MSC has done so. Royal Caribbean out in Asia has done so as well. So I think one thing that bodes well for Disney Cruise Line is getting their feet kind of wet, as per se, into getting back out there, learning from some of the challenges that they may have, so that when the full cruise line starts sailing, hopefully in the fall, they will have some things to learn and to tweak and fix, and it'll be a little bit better process for us once we get on board.
Cheerio, Steve. I'm not going to do a British accent, but my comedic timing might be a little late now after that. But after you said UK residents, I was going to say, give me my high tea, cheerio, and I now have a new accent, and perhaps I will change my residency real quick so I can get on a boat and report back.
Exactly.
Not going to happen. Anyway,
so put my boots in the boot too as we drive off. All right, so there you go. So when first Bob says they're not going to sail until the fall, and they immediately come out after the 2022 release and say that the Magic will be sailing out of England. Okay, on to our next news story. Bookings are now open for the summer of 2022 Disney Cruise Line sailings. So location's been planned for the summer of 2022. The bookings have been out for about a week now. So if you haven't had a chance to log on and take a look at some of the sailing offerings, they are headed back to the Mediterranean and Greek Isles, Europe, Northern Europe, Iceland, and the British Isles. That's the Magic's going to be over there. The Great White Whale, the Disney Wonder, the ship that people have the hardest time getting on, it seems like, when they want to complete that Grand Slam, is headed over to Alaska again and will feature 7-night sailings. No, they're not doing the 9-night, and it's just 7-night sailings, and with a one-off or two that go to Icy Strait Point instead of Skagway. That's what it is. So, and then the Dream and the Magic, or excuse me, the Dream and the Fantasy will be in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And the one big change there is the Dream, after one sailing out of Port Canaveral, is going to move down to Miami, where she's going to be sailing 3, 4, and 5-day trips to the Bahamas and Western Caribbean. She's got one double dip cruise to Castaway Cay, always a popular cruise, which is set September 26th to October 1st, which kind of rules it out for us. We can never do those that time of year with kids going back to school. I mean, can you even do that, Steve?
It's tough now with my wife, back to teaching. So she's on the teaching schedule. I don't mind pulling out. I have a 5, soon to be 6-year-old, and a 3, soon to be 4-year-old. I don't mind pulling out, my son out of kindergarten to first grade for a couple of days. So I'll figure it out. I'll coerce my wife into it somehow. I really do love the Dream. And it definitely would pull me down to Miami to go out of Miami again for sure.
Okay, so the Dream is going to move down next in the summer of 22 to Miami to make way for the Disney Wish, which is scheduled to begin sailing during the summer of 2022. There were no release dates set for her yet. Look for her to be released sometime later in the spring. There's some speculation that she might be combined with the fall 2022 dates, but I think it's going to be a separate booking window, I think, for the Wish. There's going to be a lot of fanfare around that, so we will see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like Bob Jacob, or they could just whisper it and it would be booked. You know what I mean? I mean, they really don't have to put anything into their marketing strategy at this point, and they've said very little about it. I think we got some pictures of it this week being built on several cameras. It's gonna there's nothing else to say. It'll be in huge demand no matter the price.
Yeah, I think the vloggers and whatnot will be in full force on, or at least try to be in full force on those sailings. You're gonna have to beat out those platinum members and whoever else gets this first shot at booking the Wish.
Yeah, my biggest thing is just going to see how they give priority. I don't think it'll change necessarily from the way they do it now, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll buy a house in Golden Oak real quick. Got to do what you got to do, you know.
Exactly. All right, and we'll have we've got full coverage of the summer 2022 released already. We did a live show, and then we loaded it onto our podcast feed. You can go back to episode 191 of our podcast, and you can hear all our thoughts about the 2022 release. So on with news story number 4, Steve.
So Disney Cruise Line is looking for character performers at jobs.disneycruise.com. They have posted and accepting new photo submissions for Disney character lookalike performers for Disney Cruise Line. Those included were mentioned Mulan, Jasmine, and Moana. Performers should be able to, and quote, demonstrate high energy character animation levels, full range of body movement, and imaginative improvisation techniques. Disney doesn't state which ship characters are being hired for currently, nor do they mention a start date.
And the last part I put in there for Chris, but he's not going to be here today. So
yes.
Chris was a friend of the Beast, so we're hoping to get him to talk a little bit about what it's like to work with the Disney characters aboard the ship. But I thought it was kind of interesting. Have you seen Mulan, Jasmine, and Moana very often on the ships? I have not.
No, I can't say it all. Moana's rarely anywhere. I know they're integrating her into Epcot now with their plan. So I think it's a very popular IP. Of course, Mulan and Jasmine's been around for a lot longer, but yeah. So I think you're going to see more of those newer princesses and characters integrated into the ships and the parks, which is great. And of course, they're redoing the Polynesian rooms as well.
Right, right. What do you think of those rooms? Have you seen them? You've seen the pictures, right?
You got a whole episode with me on that one. I love the Polynesian. I love the imperfections about it and the way it kind of looks a little dated and maybe even kitschy for the way it's decorated. I'm hopeful that it looks nice. I'm not a huge throw IP at everything kind of person, though. So I'm like not the person to talk to, but I'll just roll with it because that's just going to be what it is now anyway. I mean, there's no really fighting that. I don't think they have had an original IP ride since Everest was built at Walt Disney World. It's the last original IP.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the IP in a lot of ways is going to be central to a lot of different things coming. I saw the pictures of the Contemporary as well, with them kind of putting in the Incredibles into that. So I actually thought those looked pretty good. They kind of fit that mid-century modern sort of look. They've done a really good job with Pixar Pier and the Incredicoaster down at Disneyland. A lot of fun videos with that when you go on the coaster. So I think they've done a good job with that. It seems to kind of fit with the Contemporary. But yeah, as long as it's not too much in your face, I like it, I guess.
I would agree. As long as if it's a bit muted and well done. And I think they will. I mean, and of course the kids will love it. And that's what it's about, right?
Exactly. So exciting to see that they were hiring last month for positions on Castaway Key, lifeguards, and other different positions as well. So it's good to see that they're moving forward by putting this out for character performers. And we've got a couple different comments here. Steven says, I recently discovered your podcast, booked my first DCL sailing, and love listening to you guys. Well, welcome aboard, Steven. Thanks for coming back and listening with us. Sarah says, Moana definitely needs to be on the ship. And I agree with her on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, makes total sense.
I think the only place I've really seen her is in Alani, when we were over in Alani. So she's definitely there.
When was the last time you cruised out of Hawaii?
Well, it's been a couple of years. I can't even remember now. You know, it was supposed to go last year, but then they've set it again for 2022, right? 2021.
Yeah, see, that never happened. So I was wondering if I think Moana was released in like 2015 or 2016, something like that. And I don't know if they've cruised out of Hawaii since then. That would be like the place where you might see a special, character. Like that would make total sense, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah. So, and Nick says he's definitely going to try to get on one of the first cruises on the Wish. Well, good luck, Nick. I hope you make it.
You and
Because
every other DCL fan, I bet. But
yeah, and then he
us
asked,
too. I'm gonna have to
yeah,
mortgage the house.
he asked if the CDC doesn't budge, do you think Disney goes the route DCL did and sales from NASA? Honestly, I have no idea. It would just be
No way.
speculation. It'd be
No way.
speculation on my part. If they do, I don't think it will happen as fast as Royal Caribbean. I don't think you'll see that happen this summer.
I think I don't mean to shut that down and say no way. But the reason why I say that is because, as weird as it sounds, Disney is not a cruise company first and foremost. So they may not be as agile with their supply chain, their staff, their procedures, operations as the other cruise companies, which are huge international companies with many ships and a lot more ports that they go to. So I don't know if they would disrupt that, Port Canaveral connection to Walt Disney World stuff and just start sailing out of Nassau. I don't know.
So we will see. My guess is it won't happen as quickly as Royal Caribbean and Celebrity pivoted just recently. So, and we'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. Hello, Anthony. Thanks for coming on and listening. Hope things are well with you guys up in the Northeast. All right. So this next one, I'm just going to read it. There's a lot of angles to it. We'll see what happens to it. But Florida governor, that's your governor down there, Steve. He's out there making news like he usually does.
Yeah,
Ron DeSantis, threatened to sue the federal government if the cruise industry isn't allowed to resume operations in the state soon. They are exploring the state's legal options if the CDC does not open up cruise travel in the U.S. by this summer. Leaders from Carnival, Norwegian, Disney, and Royal Caribbean appeared with him during a cruise summit. So he made this statement as those leaders were kind of meeting together to talk about the industry and things that were going on down in Florida. Florida has some of the world's busiest cruise ports: Miami, Port Everglades, which is out of Fort Lauderdale, and Port Canaveral. I've never been to. I actually flew to Fort Lauderdale for the first time about right before Christmas. I've never cruised out of there. That's a pretty big cruise port, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never been out of it. My mom's been out of it several times. She cruises a lot on different cruise lines. She likes it more than Miami. I think it's a little less busy.
Okay, and you guys have you had a Carnival ship out of Tampa. Was there any other ships that cruised out of Tampa for you guys over there on the west side?
Yeah. Is it the Mariner of the Seas on Royal? There's a Royal ship, Carnival, and maybe one more. Yeah, it's funny when you drive over there now. Usually by the cruise port, we haven't seen any of them in a very long time. They haven't come into port.
I remember flying into Orlando and being able to see the Carnival ship leaving, I guess, a couple times. Mm-hmm. So I do remember seeing that. I guess it must be a distance thing from cruising out of Tampa, getting down around the south, getting around the Keys and heading out towards the Bahamas as to why they don't have more ships sailing out of there. Because I know the Carnival one was sailing down to Cuba.
Yeah, they had the Cuba sailings, which we considered doing. We really wanted to do that. Part of it is just capacity. They don't have the parking and the infrastructure over there where the port is to keep up with any larger ship or more traffic. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many ships they can have in port in one day. I think it's just 2, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's just the size of it.
Well, your Bucks just won the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's got a pretty big wallet. Maybe he can open it up and help build some infrastructure out there and kind of give back to Tampa after you guys gave so much to him.
I literally had this conversation this afternoon about infrastructure in Florida with all the people moving to Central Florida. It's just, oh boy, it's a mess right now. We need a lot of help.
All right, on with this story. I'm a terrible newscaster. I get halfway through the story and I get sidetracked, don't I?
Yes, that's all good. We're getting it out there. We're getting the message.
Yeah, maybe that's why we worked well together. So, all right. So, anyways, the basic gist of it is Florida has some of the world's busiest ports. These ports and cruises normally bring millions of visitors to Florida, to your point, Steve, every year generating billions of dollars in revenue for their economy, which they've been missing out on. DeSantis argued that the cruises have resumed in Europe, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, and Asia, stating the situation should be left up to passengers now that vaccines are becoming widely available. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to go. He also stated that the danger is no worse than air and train travel with restrictions in place. And Disney Cruise Line President Thomas, and I don't even know how to say the Disney Cruise Line President's name. Masloum?
Yeah. We should know this, right? And I feel like I've heard his name pronounced, and I know he worked for the company for a while. So I'm like,
Thomas Masloum said, let's get people back to work. The health situation has changed. Cruise lines are cruising very successfully outside the United States, proving that with the right protocols, cruising is very safe and a beautiful experience. Well, we're just going to leave the story at that. So everybody's got different thoughts on whether cruises should be going at this time or when cruises should go. But important to note that other people are starting to step up to put pressure on the CDC to get things kind of moving forward in the U.S.
Yeah, I think it is interesting that, Disney usually remains pretty neutral, and they don't really put a lot out there in the press, but to hear them say that is indicative of, I think there's some consensus amongst all the cruise line operators to obviously, try and get stuff started.
Right. Okay, on to news story number 6.
Royal Caribbean will begin sailings this year out of Nassau in the Bahamas, and a Celebrity Cruise Line will sail out of St. Martin beginning June 5th. Royal Caribbean's Adventure of the Seas will sail 7-night getaways featuring 2 stops at the Perfect Day at Coco Cay, their private island, and also Cozumel. Celebrities Millennium, yes, that's correct, will sail 7-night sailings out of St. Martin to the eastern and southern Caribbean, featuring stops in BVI, St. Lucia, Barbados, Aruba, and Curacao. I think that's how you pronounce that.
And I'll get the last part here in just a second. But we do have a listener that actually pivoted quickly, and she booked, I think, Royal Caribbean sailings on one of the Royal Caribbean ships. So hopefully we will have her on this summer after she and her family experience it. So yeah, kind of excited to see how it goes.
I guess this leads into a plug, that you're going to do for Christy here. But are the cruise lines, do they also offer, I guess, or your travel agent, are they going to tie in flights to that too? Because it obviously takes a little more planning now with flying internationally and all the different rules and law. I wonder if you can kind of book that all together. And
with Disney, I don't have an answer to that. You'd have to go to each Royal and Celebrity's website. So the funny thing is that Celebrity is actually owned by Royal Caribbean, so it's kind of the same business or the same company starting up with these 2 separate cruise lines. You'd have to go to the website and check. I know, like, when you book through Disney, you can book flights through them as well. So my guess is that you can do that, but I'm not sure that anything is going to be necessarily tied into each booking with the cruise.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and there, one thing to note, and I think we talked about this on a different podcast, and I heard it as well, is there are specific rules in place to sail with each one of these cruise lines. But on top of that, the Bahamas and then also St. Martin has specific rules as well to enter their country, enter the island. So you need to make sure that you're reading up on both of them and you're following the rules for both of them to be able to go on these cruises. I think that's kind of an important note to note. So if you are interested in any of these sailings, well, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about that at the end. I guess the last thing to touch on tonight, unless there's something that you thought of, Steve, that you can bring up, but the first mega block from the Disney Wish was floated out in Meyer Werft this past week. You can see videos and photos of it on our Facebook page, also on Scott Sanders' Disney Cruise Line blog site. Did you have a chance to see this mega block, the first one that was floated out and getting ready?
Yeah, I did. Of course. It's like these little crumbs that you get excited about. Although this update's not so little from the last time we saw it, right? Because it's been a while.
Right.
It's starting to look like a classic Disney ship.
Yeah. What I'm totally curious about is, like, they're building this is a weird segue. They're building a house across the street from us. Our neighbor's house burned down this past summer, and so they're just starting to build it right now. And it's funny to watch, like, the framework go up, and the framework happens really fast, and then it just seems like it sits there for months as they build these houses, because they got to get everything on the inside kind of put together, the wiring, the HVAC, and all that type of stuff. So it'll kind of the same thing with the ships. They've got these huge blocks put together, but once they put them together, it's going to take a while to really do the insides of them as well. Plus, they need to get your family stateroom and the little plaque on it put on there.
One of the suites.
Yeah, one of the suites. Exactly. But exciting news to see the Disney Wish being built. And if you want to go check out that mega block, there's been other photos as they come up as well. We'll try and put them up on our Facebook site for sure. You can always follow us on Twitter. There's all kinds of people on Twitter putting stuff up about it. And obviously, I think Scott Sanders is probably the go-to site with the Disney Cruise Line blog.com. That he really has all the latest and greatest news, and some of those videos posted up there pretty quickly. So go ahead there and check that out. So I think that's a wrap for March, Chris. Any final thoughts or any other news stories that you can think of that we missed for this month?
No, I think you covered everything. I wonder, with the CLIA, right? I believe that acronym, right? Cruise lines.
Oh, CLIA, yeah.
Yeah, CLIA and different state governments, of course, rely heavily on cruising as part of their revenue, as well as working with the Center for Disease Control and vaccine rollout. I wonder if news will come pretty quickly. I suspect maybe it won't until we get a pretty good amount of people vaccinated and they have numbers and all that under control, but that will be really interesting going forward. But it seems like there's definitely some optimism and some reason to believe that you'll be able to, go on a ship relatively soon.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice to see at least trying to get the dialogue started, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
nothing else, because that's kind of maddening for a lot of people when your industry shut down and there's really no. I mean, it's been a long year, going on past a year now for all of us going through this process, and so I totally understand. I guess how tough it is, especially when there's not even a dialogue to say, hey, what can we do to move forward?
That's right. Yeah. That I think there's starting to be some discussions that happen, and you'd like to just at least see perhaps some test cruises and see how things go, because part of this is I think you see other countries roll it out, and maybe you see some successes, but I don't want to get into like a conspiracy place, but do you trust those other reports that are coming out from other countries, and the data that comes from there? Does the American government put stock in that is part of that question, or do we want to just do it here and use our results and information? So I have no idea. That's out of my pay grade, but just what I'm trying to say is that there's definitely some reason to believe that there's some good stuff happening and some optimism here.
Definitely. All right. Before we get out of here, I'd like to remind you that Christy Piddick is our resident travel agent. If you are looking for a travel agent, she has got experience with all of these products from Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Walt Disney World, Disneyland's opening up here April 30th, although it's California only residents, and that is to be determined as to when people can really travel back there, Alani. But if you are looking for a travel agent to help you out with your travel needs, like I said, Christy's got a lot of great experience. You can reach out to her at packyourpixiedust.com, and a portion of every cruise or vacation book with her, and this is no cost to you. You pay the same cost that Disney charges, but she does all the work for you. She gets up at if you're on the West Coast like me, she gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and calls in and makes your cruise bookings. And so you can just sleep and get up and get your cup of coffee and then watch your text, your email, and go, look, I'm in cabin 6102 on the Magic on the cruise that I wanted. And she does all the work for you.
She's on it, man. She dots every I and crosses every T. She is on it.
Definitely. So, all right, as we get out, thanks, Steve, for coming on. Thanks for the last minute jump on. I want to wish you and your family all the best as we come up on Easter. I know you're heading over to Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I got my luggage behind me right now. It's a long extended weekend here. Should be fun. Resort only stay.
Yeah. So, well, have a great time. I wish you and the family all the best over there. And we will probably be chatting with you maybe when you get back and do a little bonus show and talk about what's going on down at Walt Disney World and how you guys enjoyed it.
Always happy to come on, man. This is great.
All right. All the best to everybody out there. Thanks for coming back and taking a listen. And we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. And this has been the March DCL News Wrap Up.